Welcome to this week's episode of Car Stars and Roll Bars. I'm Mike Kinney, your host, and throughout these different episodes, we touch so many spectrums of what goes on in this amazing culture of cars, hot rodding, whatever your favorite phrase for it. And today we are thrilled. Look at my notes, make sure I get it right. Obviously, this is Bill Warner, Warner Racing. He is the founder of the Amelia Island Concours event. Bill, welcome aboard. I'm so glad you could fit us into your schedule. You have all kinds of stuff going on, man. So how you doing?
Well, I do. You know, I'm supposed to officially be retired now. So,
yeah. How's that working out
some
for
articles. I'm doing some writing for Wayne Carini and trying to set up another run at Bonneville and be working with the guys at the Rolex Monterey Historic. So I'm staying busy.
Got to stay busy a little bit. A quick thumbnail. I was looking at some of the bio on you sent me. And for all our viewers, usually I'm lucky if I get a couple of sentences. Bill has done so much. His bio is about 6 pages long, no joke, and it's all the real deal. When you were a pup, I think you started like a local Volkswagen place running parts for the dealership. And then you started getting involved in the racing side so some of the young viewers will say, how do I get involved? Well, maybe you follow this approach. You find a local place and say, can I sweep the floors, right? Can I chase parts for you? Whatever it takes to maybe your career will go the right way. And you sent me a whole bunch of pictures. We're thrilled to have that. I propose, let's go ahead and just jump into the pond. We've got some shots of the Amelia, as it's known now. And viewers, just get ready. This is, and what? Now, is that a doozy we're looking at?
It is. Okay. Yes, it is Duesenberg. I believe that's Bill Parfitt's car. It's largely an unrestored car.
Really?
It's been repainted and restored to a small part, but not fully a part. The car behind it was the number 23 car was Charlie Kemp's Mustang II,
wow,
which ran in IMSA. And behind that, the green car is Sam Posey's Challenger from the Trans Am days.
Wow. And again, when you hear about the Amelia, you truly see some of the most unique automobiles. Obviously a great place to do it. You started this, I think, about 1996, and it draws all the way a bunch of cars. It draws a bunch of people. What are we seeing here?
Well, there's an example of the eclectic nature of the cars. You know, on the left is the Ferrari Monza.
Right.
And then an Invicta, and I think it's an MG J and behind a traditional hot rod.
Right.
A Ferrari Testarossa, a C-Jag, and on the far right, you can just see a little head of it. That is a Scaglietti Corvette, one of 3 built. So we always try to give people a taste of things that are rare automotive. In fact, behind the hot rod with the door open is a beautiful little Oscar coupe. I wish we had a full shot of it. But that was a lineup for the awards ceremony.
So, Rick, can you bring us both up before we look at the rest of these Amelia shots? And as the viewers know, I have a big soft spot in my heart for events that go out of their way to make a difference for charities. And look at my notes. I think you guys raised almost $4 million throughout the years for a series of charities in a community hospice of Northern Florida, Spina Bifida of Jacksonville. The list goes on. So God bless what you guys are doing that. So you took a event, in my humble opinion, and made it that much more special by being able to partner with a lot of worthy organizations there in Florida.
As I close out the foundation, and has now become part of the Haggerty Foundation, we'll be writing checks to local charities. We've written the checks. We'll be distributing roughly $450,000 next week.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
And then I think you were looking at your notes. You were the McGuire's Automotive Hobby Person of the Year, and they don't give a bunch of those out randomly. I think you had to kind of work to get that one.
I can thank Barry McGuire and Ken Gross for that wonderful recognition. That's very nice.
And we saw Barry this year at Grand National, and he's like you. He's semi-retired. I don't think he's ever going to retire. He's doing a lot more ministry work, and as soon as I spend 5 minutes with him, your day just gets better.
Well, he's always up. He's had some health challenges in life. He and I are the same age, pretty much. And he's got a lot more energy than I've got. I can tell you that.
I know. And let's go back to Rick. Let's go back to some of the shots of Amelia. 'Cause now, I'm a big time hot rodder. I love Art Deco. What in the world? That is just, I can't even sing stunning. I don't know what to explain it. Bill, what is that?
Well, that was a Mercedes-Benz concept car called the EQ, and I think that may have been the only time it was shown in the United States. It's wild, isn't it?
It's
Just not going to go up too many driveways with that.
no. Yeah, you talk about being kind of low and slow. Wow. So just
Yeah.
how did you maneuver to get them to come to the event? That's very cool.
Mercedes-Benz was our original sponsor from day one. And I
Really?
got to say, they were great to work with. When we wanted to grow the show, I went to them, I said, for this show to grow, we're going to have to embrace other manufacturers. And their answer was, we want to see the show grow and we're comfortable with our product. I think you should bring in other manufacturers. And I thought that was all very magnanimous of Mercedes-Benz to do that. It was the quality of the people in the company.
Well, I think candidly to also reflect on just the quality of your Concours event. You're the real deal. I think we got a couple more pictures coming up. Now, is this part of the awards ceremony, Bill?
That is, and that's the late Dr. Fred Simeon, who died about 3 weeks ago, presenting the award for the best unrestored car to a lady who came all the way from the UK with her unrestored Alfa Romeo Grand Prix car.
All the way from the UK. So she didn't drive it over, did she? When you're saying UK.
It was a little. The water's a little deep for that. No, they flew it over.
Wow.
We had cars from everywhere. We had cars from
look at that.
Just about any country you can think of in the free world.
No.
And that's my hero, the guy that if you had to pattern your life out of somebody, that'd be at Roger Penske.
Wow.
And these were just some of the cars from his career. We were going to try to get all 18 Indy cars, and the logistics were very bad. So it was difficult. So we got one Indy car for every decade back on the green, and then the Trans Am cars, the Can-Am cars, Formula 5000 cars, the stock car, the Chaparral he drove for Jim Hall, the Corvette Grand Sport, the Ferrari GTO, the RSK, the R550, and we even added from Don Lee in California. You'll see the big fuel rig they made for the Trans Am series, which was the fuel rig was outlawed.
Wow. So those are all from Penske? Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now, to let you all know that he's more than just one of those Concours guy you see, sitting the mint juleps, which are fine. Don't get me wrong. I'll take him any day of the week and have his little loafers and the nice jacket. You're a big time racer too. I think we got a few shots of you getting it on. Where was this at?
That was an interesting story. I was driving with Charlie McCarthy in his Camaro at Watkins Glen, and young Charlie Jr., his son, and I were going to drive with the dad, and the son got struck by lightning in the parking lot just as the race was starting.
Oh my! Stop.
And Charlie Sr. and his mother and Charlie was in the hospital with burns on his body, and I mean he was really, really injured. So Jack Baldwin, whose car was he was running another Camaro, broke. He came over and filled in, and we finished. We started 13th, dropped to about 43rd, and finished 5th overall the next morning. And I consider that one of the best drives I ever had.
Too cool. I think we got a couple more shots.
Bill Mitchell Camaro, and this was the Hydromatic Camaro. A lot of people didn't know this, but we General Motors wanted us to run a Hydromatic car, so Bill Mitchell built a Hydromatic car, but we used the port-injected motor.
Right.
And we won the 24 Hours of Mid-Ohio with that with Sean and Larry Hendricks, Buddy Norton, and I.
Wow.
Great car. We fooled everybody. That everybody's running 5-speed transmissions. We show up with an automatic.
Wow. And you pull it off. I think we got a couple more. Viewers, this guy's raced a lot.
Yeah, that was the X Group 44 TR6, which I bought from Tommy Ciccone back in 1989. That was a 2-time national championship car with John McComb driving for Group 44. Then they sold it to Paul Newman, and he won his first national championship in it.
Oh, my star.
And that was at Lime Rock with the late Sam Headley, who was the mechanic on the car, and I won that weekend. That was one of the neatest cars to drive. It had no bad habits, and it was really quick.
Okay, so
The only bad habit it had was me.
yeah, so for the viewers that aren't up on the jargon, what would be a bad habit in a road car like this?
Something that either understeered badly, oversteered badly, or didn't have good brakes. Something that could hurt you.
Yeah,
That's a bad habit.
yeah. To say not having good brakes, that'd give me pause.
Yeah, I ran out of brakes at Watkins Glen one time on that automatic transmission car, and make a long story short, I slid by a friend of mine in a Pontiac Trans Am, and he thought I was trying to outbrake him in turn one. I was trying to save both our lives, and bounced it off a tire wall.
Ouch! So you
Yeah, that's
downshift.
bad habit.
Yeah, so downshifting automatic is not quite the same as downshifting like a 5-speed helps slow you down. So there's a little yin and yang there, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Rick, I think we got a
Actually,
couple
that
more.
wasn't the automatic transmission car. Now that I think about it, it was a 5-speed Camaro.
Got it.
That's the Group 44 TR8, which I still have. It's got about 375 horsepower, weighs 2,300 pounds.
Oh, my goodness.
It won the finale race at Daytona in 1980 in the GTO class.
There you go.
That was the car I started club racing in. That was an ex-Bob Sharp Datsun B210. Went to the national championships 5 times. I completely destroyed it one afternoon and put myself in the hospital for about 8 days. But, that's what goes with racing.
So, no, wait a minute. You put yourself in the hospital for 8 days?
I was in intensive care for 8 days and home for 3 months. I broke my sternum and bruised my heart.
Oh, my goodness, dude. Oh, I thought you said destroyed the car. That's why I was chuckling, but I didn't realize you dang near destroyed yourself.
Yeah. Well, I did a pretty good job of crushing that car. A guy spun in front of me, and the old rule, go where you see him because he ain't going to be there when you get there.
Right.
Yeah, I violated that. I decided to go wide because he was going to the inside, and he came off the brakes and came back across the track and just ruined my day.
My goodness. Well, I'm glad to see everything turned out. That'd be kind of those, little bit extra tense moments, needless to say.
Well, the next race, I quit for a year, and my wife said to me, "You're not happy not racing. Let's go back and get a bigger car and buy life insurance."
Get a bigger. Yeah. By the way, I think you and your wife, Jean, you've been together, about 50-some years now, right, buddy?
July 29th will be 56 years.
Well, congratulations. I tell everybody I've been with Mary Elizabeth over 30 years. I'm married up, by the way, thank goodness. Good.
I think we don't.
This is what she puts up with about every day. So, okay, here we go. So in addition to standing up the Amelia from scratch and gets all this great recognition, in addition to being a stunning road course racer, he and I've talked before about big Hemis. He goes, well, those were going straight. I'm going, well, yeah. You've also done a lot in the world of publishing. You've been involved with Road and Track, Car and Driver, and Autoweek. And what is this ad about? I think your name's in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's when we won the escort race at Mid-Ohio. We won the GT class.
Right.
And they point out it was the first win, first time out for the Firehawk tire. It was the first pro racing win over 20 years of an automatic transmission car, first win ever for a production automatic transmission car. So that was a real groundbreaking set of firsts.
Well,
Great
yeah.
car.
Absolutely.
After it was sold, after it was used, it was sold, and I think whoever bought it rolled it up into a ball.
Oh yeah, that's like the guys do the Silver State Challenge here in Nevada. They use the phrase "they'll wad the car." Yeah, so just
I don't like that. That
okay.
was
Okay. This is one of the most incredible cover I've ever seen in a magazine. I love this phrase, like the dumbest rules or laws known to man. What is that about? Because unless you live under a rock, you've heard of cannonball. So this has got my attention.
Yeah, that in 1975, I knew Brock Yates, and he was going to do the Cannonball Run, which was called the Cannonball Sea, the Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash.
Yes.
And I said, well, gee, I've never been to California. It seemed like it was fun to do. We went to New York, and that's the guy in the brown jacket, the late Tom Neal. He was my co-driver who couldn't stay awake at night. And that was me kneeling down next to him. And the car that was supposed to be there was Jack May's white Ferrari Dino. Well, it had a fuel leak, and they had to fix it. So it left, and Bill Ausler, who was a photographer, said, I need a white car. I said, okay. So we got pole position.
So
that's on top of the Red Ball Garage in Manhattan. And in the back, the guys all dressed up in the uniforms, that's Bill Broderick from Union Oil. They ran a motorhome, and they hired a chef to cook the whole distance from New York to L.A.
So doesn't that kind of take a little of the mystique out of the cannonball if you have your own private chef and you're probably doing the speed limit and say, "Excuse me, sir, do you have any Grey Poupon for your sandwich today?" You know.
Actually, that motorhome would do 100 miles an hour. I think they had Frisson, the NASCAR driver, driving with William Jeans and Hal Parker. And, the Cannonball was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It's too serious now. We just had fun with it.
Well, exactly. And so I got asked so did you do a spatial gas tank or something for your competitive vehicle?
I got a friend of mine, George Drolson, was running an IMSA, and he had a Carrera that he bought, came out of Europe, that had a 31-gallon gas tank in it, and he had to put a fuel cell in. So I bought his gas tank. So the car would go 600 miles without stopping.
Well, that'd be just about right time for a potty break anyways.
Our bladders wouldn't last 600 miles.
I was going to say. So just for anybody that hasn't heard of Cannonball, you're right, sea to shining sea, it's pretty much nonstop, right? You take a break to get your fuel and you're kind of gone again. Yeah,
then we did the one lap of America after that.
Oh, really?
Where we was George Drolson again and Dick Storito I used to race against, and Ennis Ireland, who won the first Grand Prix for Lotus. And we left Darien, Connecticut, went to Darien, from Darien to Boston, Detroit, Seattle, Los Angeles, took a 12-hour break, got back in the car, went to San Diego, El Paso, Houston, New Orleans, Miami, Jacksonville, and Richmond, and then back to Darien in 8 days. Woo. And we couldn't get anybody to give us a car, so we rented a Lincoln Unlimited Mileage town car from Hertz and $39 a day. And
I would have
put 9,610 miles on it.
I would have loved it if let's say it's from Hertz, when you roll in to drop that puppy off and they go, "Excuse me," he says, "Well, unlimited mileage."
The only thing they asked me was, "Are you going to return it where you picked it up?" We said, "Yeah." We didn't tell it we were going to take it to Seattle, the Four Corners of the country.
Well, that's a good point. You did return it where you originally picked it up. Oh my!
Well, we took it to Bill Mitchell's shop in Connecticut and put heavy-duty springs and shocks, took the bumper guards off. CBA flew in a guy that mounted 4 big Oscars on the front of it and put a fuel bladder in the back. But we took all that out. But Walter Hayes, who was president of Ford, sent us heavy-duty springs and shocks and told us, "Don't tell anybody where you got them and don't return it."
Exactly correct. He knows nothing.
No, nothing.
And we're talking about magazines. You co-authored a book with Tom Cotter, Cuba's Car Culture. You won the silver medal in the International Automotive Media Competition, and then you just released, I think, your second book. Oh, there it is. Wow, that's like a coffee table book. And then you got your second book, The Other Side of the Fence, I think, and that's recently got published as well. So you're managing.
It's up for award in the UK.
I was just going to mention, I think it's up for a worthy award in the UK as well. So you're kind of staying busy on the keyboard too, sir.
Yeah. You can't vegetate.
You can't vegetate too much, and we got to get a few props in here because Bill ain't going to do it. Let's see. Very recently, look at my notes, you were nominated for the board of directors at the Motorsports Hall of Fame in Daytona Beach, Florida. And viewers, if you haven't been to this museum, you are missing out. And congratulations on that worthy recognition, sir. That's amazing.
Thank you. Well, I've been friends with him for many, many years.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I can be of some contribution.
Oh, I think, and so here, okay, let's go back. Let's see, we did the Amelia, talked about racing, we talked about being a publisher, and now you've done Sea to Shining. Oh, by the way, he's a hot rodder. So I think,
yeah,
here we go. Woo, no, that's sexy.
That's a 32 Ford Highboy built in Fresno, California, 1950. Was owned by a guy named Don Lowe, went to Portland, Oregon. I bought it from Buddy Pep in Beverly Hills. It is the real deal. It's a flathead Mercury, Eddie Meyer dual intake manifold, white walls, dog dish, trim ring.
Yep.
Got a shift knob by Norm Grabowski. Oh. It's the skull with a bullet in the top with blood cascading down the side. It's real deal. And a car behind it I just donated to the Motorsports Hall of Fame. It's a little Chevrolet-powered beach racer I found in a garage here in Jacksonville, and it ran on Daytona. in Ormond and Jacksonville Beach back in 1928 through 1930.
So that's back
And
when
it's now the oldest car in the Motorsports Hall of Fame.
Wow. So I think that's back when Daytona was still on the beach, right? Is on the sand.
No, they didn't even have a race on the beach in Daytona until I think 38.
It was 38.
So
Okay.
this car was they called them barrel racers. They'd put two barrels out on the beach, maybe a half a mile apart, and they'd race around one in an oval. And then when the ruts came in the sand, they'd move the barrels. But
They'd move the barrels.
when I got the car from the lady who owned it, she had all the original programs, newspaper clippings, pit passes, the whole shooting match.
Really? Well, the museum must be thrilled, Bill, that you had just had the courtesy where they can add that to the collection. That's gonna stop some people in their tracks.
Yeah, it was good garage jewelry. I drove it twice. It took two people to lift me out of it. I mean, the guy that drove it had to be 5 feet tall.
I can relate. Well, when you're north of 6 feet, some of these becomes getting in them's pretty cool because the gravity works with you. But getting back out can kind of be an adventure. I think we got another picture about. That's kind of sexy.
Yeah, I found the guy that owned it in a Lowe's parking lot. I said, I never cared for these boat tail Rivieras when they came out, but this one looked so elegant in black with black ball tires. I said, if you ever want to sell it, call me. So 3 years later, he called me, and it was only a mile from my office. I went and got it. We call it Darth Buick.
Darth Buick. Well, you probably heard of Kenny Youngblood, legendary painter for NHRA and NASCAR. Yeah. And that is always his favorite car.
Really?
Yeah, he just loves that body style.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because it's just got this mystique. But I've never seen one that combination. You're right, with the black wall tires. Then you're kind of going, whoa.
Yeah, and it's got that aggressive nose. The government won't allow you to have a nose like that anymore because they say if you hit somebody, you're going to kill them. Well, if you hit someone, you're going to kill them no matter what the nose looks like, I think.
Well, you kind of bean it. And Rick, if you can pull us back up together. So, again, this guy's got this really fascinating Rolodex of who you've been, what you've done. You're also the recipient of the Air Force Commendation Medal and the Florida Service Ribbon. You served over 30 years in the Florida Air National Guard, and I think you retired at the rank of major. So thank you for your service, and I'm sure a whole bunch of the younger recruits, they had the opportunity to learn from the best, and that'd be you, sir.
I was the world's oldest major.
Really?
Yeah, I think I set a record.
Kind of set a record. Well, talk about records. I think we have again. See, people like Bill, they say, I kind of done a few things. So we got to talk about some of the people. What is going? Is this over in Italy?
Yeah, this was the Mille Miglia with Frank Campanelli there on the left. On my left, you're right.
Yep.
We were loaned the Studebaker on your left. The rules were you had to run a car that ran in the original Mille Miglia. Well, two Belgians ran a 56 Studebaker Golden Hawks, who my friend, the late Leo Schiegel, loaned us the car, and we ran the Mille Miglia with it. We just had a ball, 1,000 miles of Italy in 4 days at unreasonable speeds. And this was celebrating the end of it when we polished off the champagne bottle.
Wow, that is so. So you've got this kind of thing for driving lots of miles versus like just going to the local Home Depot and coming back. So
Yeah, I think those days are over now. I mean, it's as you get close to 80 years old, doing that is difficult. My friend Jackie Eakes, Mr. Le Mans.
Really?
Yeah, he was wonderful honoree, terrific.
Very, very cool. That's a great shot, by the way.
And Parnelli and Judy Jones in the King Cobra.
Yes.
Cooper Ford. Yeah.
Those King Cobras, that's just a beast.
I had one at one time. It was a car that threatened to kill me, so I sold it.
When you jump the loud pedal on those, you got to be ready. I'm just saying.
My car was called a Lang Cooper. It was designed by Peter Brock and built at Shelby. Had a 289 Hypo Ford.
Yep.
Skinny tires. Really, I had gone out of a Brabham BT8, which was a wonderful, easy car to drive, into the King Cobra, which absolutely I got out in a cold sweat every time. So I decided it was time for it to go away.
Well, you probably know Gary Patterson, the guys at Shelby. Gary and I go back many years, and And those
Yeah.
cars are just breathtaking. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit because we have viewers, Bill, some are like our age, young at heart, having a good time, and there's people much earlier, kind of getting the itch to get into this. So if someone says, ooh, I want to start up my own version of a Concours, where it's a car show, whatever they want to call it, what kind of advice would you give them to help them get started the right way to have a great show?
Pick up golf. No, it's a 24-hour, 365-day job.
Yeah.
And it doesn't pay anything. First 8 years, I never made a cent off of it. Never paid myself.
Yeah.
It has to be a labor of passion, and it has to be done for the right reasons. I have people call me and say, well, we got this great property. We want to get people to come see it and buy land. I said, wrong reason. Don't do it. Yep. You got to be almost so passionate about automobiles, you don't think of anything else.
There you go. Good for you. I like that. See, in my case, I play golf so badly, I call it flogging, which is golf spelled backwards, and it kind of explains I do a good job driving the golf cart, but beyond that. So,
well, I got a good idea for you.
What's that, buddy? Hit me.
I've got an idea to make golf interesting.
Cool.
You make 1 out of every 100 golf balls randomly highly explosive on impact. It would bring a little NASCAR to golf.
That would kind of make you a little bit more twitch. You might want to use a little bit longer club. As far as like the Concours events specific, because those are near and dear to my heart, as I know they are with you, where do you see them go in the next 5 years?
Well, that's an interesting question. I'm not so sure that I know. I think that Pebble Beach, being the granddaddy of them all, will always be the premier event. I think there's so many now that people are limiting the shows they're going to. So I think it'll flush out to 3 major shows, and the rest of them will be regional.
Good observation, because the majority of people, they can't go to every one every year.
Well, you figure if someone takes a car, say cross country.
Yeah.
I was talking with a friend of mine in New Jersey the other day. He's taking 2 cars to Monterey. It's going to cost him $11,000 per car to ship from Newark, New Jersey to Monterey and back.
Yep.
Well, he spent $22,000 before he's even left New Jersey. And he was seriously thinking about, is it that much fun? The cost of travel with the fuel rate, the fuel rates now is just absurd. So that's why I think it'll become regional.
It's a good point. So looking back, I can't wait to hear the answer on this one. Who was or still is your favorite mentor?
Roger Penske.
There you go. Cool. How come?
He was a champion race driver. He was an exceptional businessman. He is the best leader I have ever seen in my life or met. The people who worked for him, years later, they sing his praises and as a virtuous guy. I'll tell you a quick story.
Yes,
I don't want to take up a whole lot of time, but when I was diagnosed with cancer 4 years ago, it was pretty serious stuff. It was down to, if I didn't get something done in probably 120 days, I wouldn't have been around.
Yeah.
And I was in Essen, Germany, getting ready to come home, and the phone rang around 10 o'clock at night. It said Farmington Hills. I didn't know who it was, so I answered the phone anyway, and it was Roger Penske. He says, I hear you've got cancer. I said, yeah. How'd you know? He says, well, Keith Crane told me. He says, who's treating you? I said, Mayo Clinic. He says, well, Mayo Clinic treated me, and I want to make sure you're treated right. I'm having my doctor call your doctor that you're well and back up to speed. And that's the kind of guy Roger Penske is. He never forgets people. Wow. He always rewards people. He is the epitome of what every businessman should be.
I love it.
Yeah, he's my hero.
So 2 more before we get you out of here. And I know some of these questions, I told Mary, he says, why are you laughing? I said, these are going to be kind of hard for Bill. And what's your favorite automotive memory? Yeah, yeah,
That's a tough one. Let me think about it.
yeah.
Um, well, I have a number of memories. I've had the pleasure and the privilege of meeting some of the greatest of all: Dan Gurney, Brian Redmond, Vic Elford, Carroll Shelby, Sterling Moss. Sterling was my race driver hero. Johnny Rutherford, Bobby Unser, Al Unser. I mean, I could go on. There's 26 of them. Favorite memory.
Yeah.
I think that Watkins Glen race,
Mm-hmm.
because we overcame so much adversity,
Yes. There you
and it's kind of a story of life. Everything's not going to go your way in life,
go. You got it.
and you have to figure a way of surviving and making success out of what looks like an absolute failure. And that's what that race was. It was teamwork. It was working over a 24-hour period to attain a goal. No, we didn't win the race, but every one of us thought we'd given 100%.
Perfect. Couldn't say any better. Okay, before we leave, how do people get a hold of you if they want to reach out and say howdy? Maybe they want to invite you to an event.
Yeah.
What's a good way to get a hold of
They
you?
can email me at Bill Warner
Okay,
at bwracing.net. It's on the screen there, and there's my cell phone.
perfect.
And don't try to buy my house. It's not for sale. And I'm getting those calls every day.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or they got that new extended warranty for your car, right? Because we get one or two of those. Okay, before we leave, I always look at my notes. Drum roll. What's your favorite automobile?
Oh. Well, can I divide it into street car and race car?
That'd be it's your show, sir. You can slide it any way you want, brother.
Well, two race cars. The Group 44 TR6 was fabulous.
Cool.
One of the best race cars I'd ever driven. And my Brabham BT8, which I'm sorry I sold, which was a 2-liter sports racer, ex-Denny Holm, found it in the South Carolina junkyard. That car was fabulous. I mean, it was really quick. The only thing was you'd lay down between 2 11-gallon tanks of gasoline, which wasn't the smartest thing I ever did. Street car, I've got a 71 Porsche 911 I've owned since new, the one we did the cannonball in.
Right.
And a new C8 Corvette, which I love, the C8 Corvette.
Really?
People say that's the best car for the money. I said, no, it's the best car. Take the money out of it.
Really?
It's yeah.
So she's
got
fun.
that
Sounds like she's fun to drive.
8-speed dual clutch gearbox. I didn't think I'd like a 2-pedal car. It's a wonderful 2-pedal car. It's got luggage space. Jane and I can go on a trip in it. It's got dual displacement, so you're cruising along at 80 miles an hour on V4, getting 27 to 30 miles per gallon. It's a fabulous car.
Wow. So I can understand why that's your favorite. Well, Bill, we cannot thank you enough for having us with us. I knew this was going to be a fun show. You and I have talked a couple times leading up to the show, and I get done chatting to this guy when I talk to my viewers. I said, it was like 30 minutes later, and Ray goes, "What were you guys talking about?" And I said, "Stuff."
Stuff.
People we
Mike,
know.
it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Well,
thank you for having me.
You bet you, brother. And you got to watch out. Anytime you hear about Bill Warner Racing, there's going to be some cool stuff going on. Until next time, when you're with us for Car Stars and Roll Bars, and make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Enjoy the ride. Bye-bye for now.